the University of Connecticut. I chose this location because it's a major highlight on campus for a lot of students, including myself. Mirror Lake is a man-made lake on campus that was built in 1922 from a marshy swamp. The swamp was flooded with a dam in order to be made, and shows the signs of the Anthropocene due to many characteristics that I will explain soon. First is introduction to new weeds and pests. Mirror Lake is a man-made lake, which means that humans had created it years ago and it was not there naturally. This means that there were no fish or water plants that flourished in the area, and many new plants or fish that are in the lake were placed there by humans and are not natural. Mirror Lake has seen an increase in aquatic plant growth due to little light that reaches at the bottom of the lake. Over time, this has caused excessive plant growth, which is dominated by phytoplankton, algae, and cyanobacteria due to the depth of light and chemicals rushed into the lake. There have been some fish in Mirror Lake that have been placed there by humans and students. However, the pollutants in Mirror Lake made it hard for anything, especially fish, to live there. In the 1980s, it was shown that there were brightly colored fish living in the lake due to students abandoning their goldfish. However, over time, the lake has become more polluted due to fertilizers and chemicals entering the lake, which has killed off all life of fish in the lake. Next is water pollution. There has been very bad water quality at Mirror Lake since 2017 due to many different reasons. First, there has been an abundance of fertilizer on the grass surrounding the lake, which runs off into the lake. Second, during the cold winter months at the University of Connecticut, there is a lot of road salt used to keep the ice down and pollutants from traffic and construction that is drained into the lake as well. Third, there is also a lot of geese that surround the lake, which leaves their feces in the lake. All of these fertilizers, feces, and chemicals that find their way into the lake cause high levels of bacteria and algae polluting the lake. There is evidence of how bad the pollution of Mirror Lake has gotten due to algae found downstream from the lake, found in the Fenton off of Willowbrook. There is an orange tint in the water downstream, which is caused by the pollutants from Mirror Lake. This image here shows the conditions of Mirror Lake over the years between 2006 and 2017 due to algae, phytoplatonic cyanobacteria, plants, and sediments. As you can see, there are clear differences between all 4 of the years shown. It is recommended by Dr. Cortman that the lake should be dredged to remove nutrient-rich sediments that have settled at the bottom of the lake. The next is soil erosion. In 2022, the University of Connecticut created a record of decision for Mirror Lake improvements. In the record, they stated that they are going to update the dam for safety improvements such as adding upstream erosion protection. Mr. Scott Waitkus from BVH Integrated Services wrote that exposure of soil increases potential for erosion and sedimentation when explaining the erosion at Mirror Lake. Flooding from rain in this area around Mirror Lake has caused erosion on the land, which is why Connecticut guidelines for soil erosion and sediment control will help the area not erode as much with the new improvements in the future. Next is over-fertilization. The University of Connecticut uses a high amount of fertilizers in their grass and in their agriculture. Mirror Lake on campus is known to be one of the nicest places on campus agriculturally due to the lake and greenery. This is due to the amount of plants around the lake and all the fertilizers used to keep the plants and grass healthy and thriving. The high amount of fertilizers used on these plants run off into the lake, which is an over-fertilization of the land seeping into the lake. Next is river or stream alteration. Mirror Lake was made in 1922 from a swampy marsh into the lake it is today. In 1922, there was a soil dam that was removed and replaced by the lake by the year of 1946 when it was finally completed with improvements. Since then, there have been many more improvements to the lake in order to prevent flooding since the water has been getting very high in the lake. Scott Waitkus also explains that what will be done to the lake with the new improvements. He says, riprap will be added from the upstream toe of the embankment to provide erosion protection and improve stability, and a conventional tow drain will be constructed at the downstream embankment toe to help lower the shallow groundwater at the toe of the dam, lower the groundwater table through the dam, and improve stability. Overall, there will be riprap added to the top of the dam and a tow drain at the bottom in case of flooding to lower water levels. And this photo is when Mirror Lake was first created in 1922. In a million years from now, I believe that Mirror Lake will be covered in algae and very overpolluted. From all of the information that I have gathered about Mirror Lake, I believe that there is a serious issue with pollution due to fertilization, chemicals, feces, and more. I also think that the University of Connecticut will grow in size with students, and the students will unfortunately pollute it as well. The more that the lake will become polluted, the harder it will be to take care of and treat with improvements. The algae and invasive plants in the lake will take over due to pollution and make the lake even worse overall. In conclusion, I have learned that the main source of anthropogenic change has been pollution to the lake caused by humans. This is related to each of the 5 signs because it has caused water pollution, the inability of animals to survive in the lake, over-fertilization around the lake, and the need for improvement. The biggest thing that has surprised me about Mirror Lake is how many improvements it has. From making dam improvements, or trying to stop pollution, to stopping the lake from flooding, there is constantly updates and improvements that the University of Connecticut makes on the lake to keep it stable. And here's my list of citations.